Mack Hansen. What do you think?
Oh, this is divided opinion.
I bet you two have a different opinion on this.
Yeah, I did see your article, Andrew, and I had a brief conversation with Mack about a few different things. Not just this, but Andrew, give some context, please, because I know you've done an article on it and you are a devil in the detail and all that. So maybe give the listeners, if they don't know what's happened with Mack Hansen, and then we can maybe get into it.
Yeah, the Mack Hansen thing. So Connacht played Leinster, and I've said it on here, and many people have said it. Leinster sometimes get the rub of the green or play right on the edge, as I did at Leicester and our old days and all that stuff. Successful teams, when you're playing against them, sometimes people feel, or the opposition feel, you're not getting the rub of the green. And Connacht and Mack have had this thing where they felt that's been the case against Leinster. And ultimately, there were some decisions in the game when Connacht played Leinster that went against Connacht that he didn't agree with. He was very emotional. It was a highly charged game. Leinster won it. Connacht had their opportunities. And he's done an interview post-match saying it felt like they were playing against 16. And there was a few quotes in there about the rub of the green going Leinster's way, and it's happening for years and all that stuff. And
I don't know if you can hear the frustration in my voice, because it's starting to get to a point where it's honestly it's bullshit, and it's starting to get really frustrating for us, because people will say we're an inconsistent team, but Jesus Christ, when you're getting some of the calls we're getting, like, of course you're going to be.
When he said it, and when he had his post-match interview, I agreed with a lot of what he said, the sentiment of it. And off the back of it, we've seen the potential news that Chris Busby, the referee, might retire, but it's not just because of that. That's a totaling up of different things and different reasons, personal reasons as to why. But so everyone's like, protect the referees, don't abuse the referee. And he's had a ban.
He got a 6-match ban reduced to 3. So we've got the same as some of the clean-outs that we've seen where people are basically have nearly career-ending injuries when they're getting their knees wrecked. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Yeah, so 6-week ban down to 3, which coincides with his availability in the Six Nations. What do you mean? The IRFU have done that before, now the IRFU have done it as well. But he's been reprimanded, there's a fine and all this stuff. People have been shouting, rugby values, protect the referee. Other people are saying, we want to hear more of that. That's great content, it's great debate. So there's a lot of people stuck in the middle. I think Mack Hansen, from just my opinion, I agreed with a lot of what he said. I think he'll look back on it and say, he's been forced to apologise, right? But I don't think he wants to apologise, because that's how he feels, and we should allow that. I don't think he was abusive. I think he was just stating his emotion, his feelings, and I don't think at any point has he incited any abuse towards a referee. And we need to be able to have these debates and talk about them. We watch Carragher, Neville, Roy Keane on the football debating stuff all the time, and it's the most engaging stuff. That's what I work in an office in London, and the lads are talking about the same stuff that the pundits are talking about that they've seen on TV. And that's what drives content. That's what drives interest in the game. And we can't silence the players, but also say we want characters. So
yeah, well, this is the difference with the players or ex-players you've just mentioned then, the fact that Mack's still playing. So that's the big difference in this. And I'm in the middle on it and going back and forth with Mack, not just about that. We were talking about tattoos and we were talking about podcasting and stuff like that, just random stuff. And he was sending me pictures from a gymnastic club in Ireland with a couple of mates. His mate was basically like trying to start a scrap with me. Like, I got a video in the morning, like 2 a.m, and his mate's like, fucking beat it, fuck it. But I'm in the middle with this, because the argument will be that yes, pundits and people will want the content, and a lot of what Mack sent, I agree. I think that Connacht don't get the rub of the green. And we've seen that at Scotland. And I don't care what you say, Andrew, I played in the Scotland team where we did not get the rub of the green. We did not get 50-50s. We didn't get 60-40s, because basically the rest of
you can't use that just because you never beat England.
I drew against England. But I was in games where I was like, and it's a subconscious, it's a human instinct thing. Like if you've got Toulouse versus Doncaster, before you go into that game, you're thinking, well, they're going to get hosed. If you've got Leinster and Connacht, there's probably a bit of you thinking, and this was all around Bundy Aki, right? Bundy Aki being hit in the ruck by Geordie Barrett, and it wasn't checked. So there's a bit more detail into it. And you actually break it down, and poor Connacht, right? I don't know who paid the €10,000 fine, but you break it down, what's actually happened to Mack. Okay, so he's been pulled over the coals or whatever you want to say. He's been reprimanded, 10 grand fined, who's paying it? He's missing the Connacht games, so he's going to be available for Ireland. It'll be interesting to see what Andy Farrell does. Andy Farrell clearly likes Mack. Mack's got a tattoo of Andy Farrell on his body.
That's a way to
on
get
his leg?
picked, isn't it? That's a way to get picked, isn't it?
There you go, get a tattoo of your boss on your face. But it'd be interesting to see what Andy Farrell does if he's not played, because Matt was coming back from injury. There's that part of it. And then also, I understand the integrity of the game, right? Rugby values were different to football, but in any other sport that this has happened, the coaches, when they're calling out referees after a game, they get fines, they get bans. And it's the same for the players as well. Have you ever seen a player do that? Mack's very different. Have you ever seen a player in a press conference? And I mean, it weren't on 8K cameras, was it? It was fucking budget bill, but it was.
Yeah, it was on someone's Nokia 5410 or whatever. But no, but tell me anyone that's watched it and gone, oh, I didn't not enjoy that. That was good. Like, I like to see that.
Well, Chris Busby didn't enjoy it.
Well, yeah. But he does he name Chris Busby? Does he incite abuse? It's a really hard one.
Inciting abuse is a big statement.
Yeah. So I don't think he does. There's idiots that are going to abuse referees, but you're going to get that in every walk of life. I get abuse on social media every day from people. And some people can take it. I'll show you one now. It just says "fat cunt," like a direct message.
That was
why am I laughing?
Was that you guys?
That would hurt me. But you're right. Some people are, and it's this whole thing now about like left wing, right wing, and free speech and stuff like that. It's how you take it. That's the thing. It's not about saying it. And I know, Andrew, you're big on this. You're big on the political landscape, and you have thicker skin than a rhinoceros.
I've got a lot of thick skin, like metaphorically and physically.
Well, mine's long in some places, my toes. But when it's how you take it, isn't it? And I think as a sport, as tough as we are and as tough as we want to be seen, we need to have thicker skin. But the referees, it's a fucking tough job. I don't know what the number of referees coming through. It's a tough job for them to do. There's so many laws, rules, interpretations. Really, is one referee enough to be on the pitch with two linesmen? They're missing, like they are missing loads. Like the scrums are free for all. Yeah, so it's yeah. I mean, it's topic of conversation. It's what's trending in other news.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Rob, what do you think?
We can't silence the players. Come on, Rob. You give us your
honestly
Stockton opinion.
I liked it. I like hearing players that come out and, they're outspoken, they'll give their opinion. I don't think he directly named Chris Busby in anything. I think, if anything, a lot of the stuff he said was more directed at the TMO and the wider
historical
team.
stuff.
Yeah, and historic stuff. And I feel like maybe if the referees had a body that could respond to comments like that, obviously not Chris himself, but maybe if there was a spokesperson for the referees union that could come and answer and say, well, actually, Mack, I think in that game, Connacht actually had more penalties than Leinster. I think it actually turned out like that. Yeah. So, if someone could come back and, answer Mack's points succinctly and say, well, you might have felt this, but this is the answer. And then Chris is protected, but you've still given Mack his chance to speak what he felt. Because that's what we want. We want people saying things that are going to spark a discussion. Yeah. And just the way he said it was class, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Can I say something, mate? This is bullshit.
Yeah, mate.
This is bullshit. But with that as well, though, one thing that has happened now is Mack's done his job, right? So the subconscious now changes because when Connacht play, there's always going to be a thing now, or it will be. I don't care what anyone says, because when Connacht play next, I'm going to be looking at everything to be like, well, they didn't get the rub of the green there. So 3-week ban, 10 grand or 10,000 euros. If euros are still a currency going forward these days.
It is a currency, James. A strong one. And it goes back to, I've had so much not abuse, I've had so many messages about, Razzie, what about you when you all piled onto Razzie for doing the video? And if you go back to what I said about Razzie in the video, I fucking backed him. I was like, it might not be right, but what he's saying is right. And then they're double world champions.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we'll finish with this. I don't know what's going on with Chris Busby. He said that this was a factor. Maybe it was the final nail in the coffin. I don't know how many nails have already been put into the coffin, but you don't want to see referees go out like that. They've got a tough job. You talk about social media hate. I imagine off the back of that, there'd be stuff I don't know if he's on social media, but you need thick skin to be a referee. But ultimately, lads and ladies, you sign up to do that job. you're in a position of power and authority, which no one likes. No one likes the police. No one likes getting tickets. No one likes paying tax. Like, they're doing all of these things where authorities involved, and we've seen that across sport. It's not just rugby, it's everything. The referees get a lot of shit as well. The UFC, like, no referee does that, and if he calls a fight too early or whatever, then it's all on him. It was his fault that the fighter got knocked out. So it's not just rugby. So we hope Chris Busby is all right, and that this wasn't a huge factor that's kind of being rumoured to be a part of this decision.
Pod.
Rugby pod.